That's right, gamers all around the flat universe. Today we're learning another guide, another build. Today we're killing the game further. We're gonna be doing a Rus Season 5 guide. Now, it's been a while since I made the Rus guide, and to be honest, not much has changed for Rus in the past couple of seasons. The Civ has become a lot stronger. So I wanted to show you not just, make 2 TC and attack, but a little bit of a different game where the opponent reaches castle first and I have to adjust and catch up. So this one was against Vortex and it was Malian against Rus. So I'm going to give you guys kind of my thought process, how you do the Rus build and so on, and what to focus on, yada yada. So number 1, compared to my last guide, which was, again, a very long time ago, you build your hunting cabin with 2 villagers, not with 4 like we used to, because hunting cabin build time has been buffed, aka it takes less time to build it. So you're gonna only build the hunting cabin with 2 villagers, and you're gonna send all your villagers onto the food pretty much until you age up, and you're gonna go for a total of 2 extra scouts, so you're gonna have 3 scouts, right? Now, there are multiple ways of you to send your scouts and how you want to play it. Usually, the best way to do it, I didn't do it this game, but the best way to do it is, if this is my vision, what I want to do is send 1 scout, if you look at the minimap, like this way, all the way to the opponent's base, like here, like so. And then my second scout would go this way into the corner. So why do we do that? Well, there's usually sheep on the middle, so you want to kind of run through the middle. 1 scout goes through here, 1 scout goes through here, so that you make sure you have highest chances of grabbing the double sheep that is on the middle. And if you go straight to the middle with Rus, you will be able to meet the enemy scout. And when you meet the enemy scout, you can adjust your scout pattern according to it. So for example, if you see their scout here and they're moving downwards, you can make a choice. Do you want to follow their scout, or do you want to turn around and scout somewhere else? So usually what happens in pro play is next. You send the first 2 scouts like that, and if I meet an enemy scout right here with my first scout, and he goes downwards and he goes into his base, what I will do is I will turn around with this scout like this on the minimap, right? Because I know that's secure. He doesn't have anything there because I just saw a scout. And then my second scout is going to go straight deep into the territory on the other side because I know he has no scout there for now. Now, some people make 2 scouts against Rus. Some people stay on 1. But that's usually the kind of the scouting pattern you want to follow. And you usually want to, when you're on their territory, you want to be going for the deer. And at least try to get at least 1 pack and get as many sheep as possible. And then focus on wolves after. One thing that's extremely important is do not overlap your scouting. So what I mean by that is, if I scouted here already, don't go there again to scout, or cross paths. Like if I've scouted with this scout all the way here, I don't want to go again into that position. You're kind of wasting, potential sheep or wolves or deer. Obviously, each side has 2 deer packs. So in this game, I find both deer packs on my side of the map. So I think what I did is I sent both scouts aggressively forward, because this is kind of like best case scenario. I found both of my deer packs. So after I kill them, I know that the most gold that I got on my side is gathered. So I can go into his side of the map and try to get his deer too. And then get maybe sheep or wolves and so on and so forth. One thing that I see a lot of people do, like a mistake with Rus, is they put their first 2 scouts on their side of the map. You have to understand that the enemy will be playing defensive with their scouts to try to deny their own deer, and that's what you want to take away from them.
3 fucking scouts?
Now,
3 fucking scouts.
Now, one thing you need to be careful of with Rus is to not run out of sheep. So, if you found, like, let's say I found 3-4 sheep here with the first scout that I sent in this game, maybe I would drop off the sheep first before moving forward. So be very, very careful. And if you've played Rus before, you know what I'm talking about. Because you have so many villagers on food, and you have hunting bunti, which increases your gathering rate for food. you know that you can run out of food really, really quickly as Rus. If you've never played Rus before, you will run out of food sometimes until you get used to playing Rus more and more. But you can see here, I'm trying to kind of clear the map. On this side, I'm just committing to clearing the wolves. On this side, I found his deer. And I think out of 7, I got 3 deer, which is still good. And I know where his scout is. Now, this is another important thing. And this is why you can also follow their scouts. The reason why you can follow their scouts is the enemy will never have 3 scouts, right? Unless they're Rus, they will have 2 scouts at max, 1 or 2. So if the opponent goes 2 scouts and you follow their scouts, that means that your 3rd scout is gaining everything for free, right? And then his 2 scouts are kind of locked with yours and they can't really kill deer. Maybe you'll get sheep before them and so on. So there's also an option if you see the enemy scout to kind of stick to it and try to not let it deny deer, if that makes sense. Or you can just be like, okay, you're denying deer, move past and try to steal sheep or something, right? That depends what you want to do. There's so many options with scouts and like how you wanna go about denying deer or getting sheep or whatever else. But priority deer and sheep. Second prio is wolves. Try to keep like a mental image of where the wolves are, because sometimes, you know, maybe you'll go here to kill this deer and you see a wolf. You don't want to get it now. Maybe you want to kill the deer and then move on. But later on, you'll come back to kill that wolf once you've scouted the whole map or, you know, scouted all the sheep and deer. Hope that makes sense. Now, age up is going to be happening. Now, this is Kremlin positioning is, you know, when we did the Golden Gate build, obviously Golden Gate, you just plop it up whenever. But Kremlin is different. It's kind of like Chapel. It is very, very important where you're placing your Kremlin. Very, very important. And this is, you know, what makes Rus from like a good civ to great civ. This landmark right here, because it protects you so much in the early game. So, there are multiple options in this game, but there are only 2 good ones. So option number 1 is to put Kremlin here to protect your stone and protect your wood line. That's a bad choice. Option number 2 is to put like Kremlin here to protect your berries and gold. That's also a bad choice. The only 2 real good choices are to put Kremlin here, protect your gold, which is very important. Potentially protect your stone. If you can't get this one, you can just take this one. And you're protecting your full wood line, basically, which is also in the back. That's option number 1. I opted for that option because it has more resources. Option number 2 would be to make Kremlin here to protect the deer and semi-protect the wood line. So that's something I could have gone for as well. And, you know, maybe against Malian it would have been better choice because Malians usually go for pro scouts at a high level. So if I went for Kremlin here, maybe I could have protected these deer with Kremlin and then protected the second deer pack with units. But I went for the safe option. So usually you want to avoid putting Kremlin in the back unless all your resources in the back, then you might as well. But if I had like gold here, for example, for sure that Kremlin would be going here because then I protect deer, gold, and wood. This is something that you're gonna need to figure out. I'll give you guys an example from his side. So let's say I was playing on his side, right? Let's say I spawned where he did. So where would I put Kremlin? He actually has multiple good spots. So yeah, he actually has multiple good spots. So spot number 1, Kremlin right here. You protect both wood lines, stone, gold, very nice. And then you can wall off this side to basically protect this whole side, like to protect all these resources, which would be a pretty good option, right? You do a little wall here, you get the deer pack, stone, gold, berries, wood, another berries, gold, yada yada. You could also put Kremlin here, or like somewhere around here. Doesn't have to be that far forward, but I feel like walling off this side would be a lot easier, and then Kremlining here, because you need a lot of wood usually as Rus, so this is kind of like a nice spot. And option number 3 could be doing a Kremlin right here to protect your deer pack, stone, and wood, and then you can do a wall here, wall here. So It's the same when you play HRE or China. You need to kind of pre-plan, or you need to know where you're going to put your Kremlin, where you're going to get the most value. You kind of need to develop a plan in the early game and go on from there. You can't just like prop Kremlin here. Like that doesn't do anything. Like it protects stone and wood, but it could also protect more, right? It also depends what civs you're playing against. Like if I was playing against English, I would probably just put Kremlin here, because that would enable it that my wood lines are completely safe. I can just get wood here and he can't do much. But maybe if I'm playing against a civ where I need a lot of gold, like in a mirror, or against French, maybe I would put Kremlin. Well, actually, this would be a good spot still, because you get gold. If you're playing against like Malian or something, you could put it on here for the deer, especially if you're going second TC, yada yada. You kind of get the point. You want to protect as many resources with it as possible, preferably in front of your base, all right? You never want to put Kremlin like back here or something. But yeah, in this game, if I was in Vortex's spot, I would probably go here against most civs. Against his civ, I would probably put it here. Because again, this side is easily wallable, so there's not much point to put it there. And it's also kind of in the back of your base. That makes sense. So, with that being said, I decided to go for here. And what we want to do now is we want to chop... I also forgot to mention, you go for 2 extra scouts, and then you get wheelbarrow immediately from the hunting cabin before you age up to feudal. As we're aging up, I like to leave 5 on food, because sometimes I like to go for spearmen with this build if I'm not feeling completely safe. If I'm feeling safe, I just skip barracks and I skip spearmen. So now what we want to do, leave 5 on food, age up with 4 or 5 is 4 or 5 is both fine. And then we're going to chop 150 wood. Why do we want 150 wood? Well, we want wood for the extra house that we have right now. We want the wood for a mining camp for stone, and we want enough wood for lumber camp. And that's exactly 1 wood here, or 1 tree, sorry, because it has 150 wood. So, once we chop that, we're going to send the workers onto the stone. Now, the one good thing about Rus and doing the build this way that I'm doing it is you won't need protection for your stone villagers, because they will, by the time the opponent can arrive with a knight or a longbow, you're done with stone. And that's why you want to put Kremlin close to your wood line, because even if the opponent wanted to be aggressive, you're done with stone, and then you're moving on to the wood. So, here we go. He ages up, and obviously Malian can go for Malian scouts. So you'll see by the time his scouts are even upgraded, I'm going to be done with gathering stone. I'm delivering the rest of my sheep. I make the lumber camp right next to Kremlin. And usually I like getting immediate double broadaxe. I think I'm a little bit late here, but I like getting immediate double broadaxe. The reason for that is you're usually going to go, like I said, for you know, a lot of production buildings. You're going to go for second TC. You're going to get for walls eventually, wooden fortresses on boar. So the best eco upgrade for you to get right now is double broadaxe, because you have wheelbarrow already. The second best eco upgrade you're going to get is survival techniques, because you should always be on boar and deer early on as Rus. So you can see, even if he were to, he went pro scouts first, but let's say that he went for stables first and upgraded his Malian scouts, which is one of the fastest attacks that can happen in a game. I'm already done with stone. I have 350, so I can just move away. And then Kremlin protects my wood line, so there's nothing he can do harassment-wise, which is why Rus is so strong. It's very hard to harass. Now, I have scouted this. I saw that stable is only coming now. So, in this game, I decided to skip barracks. But if he was rushing and he had like 3-4 Malian scouts already waiting for me to plant a TC somewhere, I would probably just make a barracks now and make a couple of spearmen to protect it. And I even made barracks, and I was like, ah, nah, actually I'm gonna skip that. So I got 17 on wood, still 5 on food only. Why do we have 17? Well, we want to get the TC as fast as possible. And the second thing you need to be paying attention to with Rus is where your second TC will be. Well, in my position, the most obvious choice is right here. You get deer, you get berries, and after that you kind of get the gold as well because your TC is right here, so it's an easy access goal. This is by far the best spot in my spawn. There's no real second option, and you know, potentially I could make it here, but that is so far forward. You don't want to make your second TC that far forward usually, and it would be a lot harder to defend. And even once I get these deer completely eaten up, let's say the opponent was another civ and was now yoinking my deer, rallying workers from here to like tree line or whatever is kind of far away, but from here you can just rally it onto deer, berries, and then gold after, so the rally point is kind of close. There's always potential for you to make a TC on the deer, on the boar as well. On my boar, it's kind of bad because there's only like this small tree line and the boar, so not worth it. I would rather just make a wooden fortress there. In his position, if I spawned as Rus in his position, I would probably have Kremlin here protecting these deer, and then my second TC would be on this boar, because not only I can make a TC next to the boar, but I'll have TC next to the gold. So TC will protect 2 resources. And that's kind of, you know, the value you want to be getting. So you never make your TC as Rus on like berries or just an empty gold or a wood line. You always need to get at least deer or boar. Okay, if the boar is solo, make it on deer. If the boar has gold next to it or boar plus berries, you go for boar, because boar has the highest gather rate in the game. Would I go for TC on the south deer pack? No. I would probably try to wall off this quickly so he can't steal it. Maybe wall this off, Kremlin here, and then put the TC here. And that way you protect all the resources. So, the moment I'm starting my TC, I'm going to start gathering gold. And at this point, there are 2 options with Rus. So option number 1, which is the more common one, and what I would suggest you to do, is to commit to Feudal attack, because you have knights in Feudal, Rus is very strong in Feudal, and that's where you should be fighting. Now, if I were to rush castle, I don't know, I'm not going to think too much against what specific civs you want to do that, but if you want to rush castle from here on out, I would probably suggest you leave 6 on wood, so you're slowly gathering wood so you can build like production buildings later on and wall off and stuff like that. And then you would put 1 TC on gold, 1 TC on food, and you would just basically get food and gold and age up eventually with, what is it called? High Trade House. That is a way better landmark. You should be aging up with this 99% of the time. The only time I see you aging up with Abbey of Trinity is if you're playing against HRE and you're trying to deny relics, but even then, meh. So, again, if you want to rush castle from here now, that's how you do it. You will have this DC on gold, this DC on deer. You would get the survival techniques because it's very, very good, and then you just age up. Now, the problem with that is, you know, it can go sideways. You can get all in, you can lose villagers, and the thing is, most civs that rush castle, they rush castle for a reason, and usually that reason is getting access to men-at-arms or getting access to knights. Well, you already have access to knights in Feudal, so you don't gain any like extreme power as a civ if you rush castle, which is why Rus players tend to stay in Feudal. So, what do you want to do right here? Well, I like to open with a stable or even double stable. And the reason for that is you want to start harassing your opponent immediately, start making knights. And by going double stable, you don't also force the opponent to play defensive, but you force them to make a lot of spears. Because when you're double producing knights, few spears will not cut it anymore. So you can overwhelm the spears if you have big enough knight count, and especially if the opponent is trying to cut spears or is not making as many. And once you do that, you can transition into like 3 archer ranges and then follow up your knights with a lot of archers. You get blacksmith, you get attack upgrades, and so on and so forth. So at this point, It's pretty standard. If you played Rus before, if you played one of those builds where it's like you get the boar and then you all in, from here on out, that's exactly what this build is. You make production buildings, you make units, you keep making workers, you're growing economically while trying to put pressure on your opponent, force them to stay in feudal, force them to fight, and so on and so forth. And you will have really, really good food income, and your resources are also protected. So that's the advantage of Rus. That's why it's such a strong civ. Because if I'm playing against an opponent like French, for example, French will have his resources exposed. Maybe French will have a TC somewhere to protect his deer, but French gold should be exposed, French woodline will be exposed, but you have Kremlin taking care of that. So I usually like to go, if you go double stable, I usually like to go up to 8 villagers on gold. If you're staying on 1 stable, I would suggest you stay around 5 villagers on gold. This will force the opponent to make a lot of, like I said, spears or defensive units, and then you're going to follow it up with 2-3 archer ranges, and then fully commit to, you know, just good old feudal knight archer push. Depending what civ you get, you will either want to get +1 range attack or +1 ranged armor. So if you're playing against a civ like English, where it's like super ranged army base like longbows, you want to get +1 armor first, range armor. But if you're playing against a civ like, I don't know, whatever, some other civ, you might want to get that's maybe going, like if someone is going for horseman spears or knight spears, you can go for +1 ranged damage first, so you can pick off their spears. But in general, getting +1 armor, ranged armor, will benefit you more, because most civs against Rus will play kind of defensive with like spear archer, and you also want to get that bonus armor if you're like attacking under towers or TCs, just for your knights to be a little bit tanky. So again, nothing complicated. You can see 2 archer ranges are coming. You would add blacksmith and 3rd archer range soon, and you just go, go, go. Once you get 8 on gold, you will rally 1 TC onto the wood line, like I am doing right now, and you will rally 1 TC onto the food. You have 8 on gold, that will be enough for your knight production and to get an upgrade here and there. From that point on, you attack the enemy food sources, enemy gold, enemy woodline, whatever is accessible, you go for that. And you try to do the usual micro with knights and archers. Archers and spearmen, knights kind of protecting the archers and then killing everything else. Now, why am I showing you this game? Because I've shown quite a lot of guides that are like, you know, you make production buildings and you attack. The reason why I thought this game would be good for a guide is because sometimes you will end up in a situation where the opponent ages up super quickly and maybe you weren't prepared for it, maybe you didn't put enough pressure, and that's kind of what happens here. So in this game, Vortex went for pro scouts into super fast castle, and even though I wanted to push, I am making units, he got to castle and I had to adjust mid-game, so I'm going to show you how I did that. So I'm going to speed it up right here. He's still getting the stuff, and now he is aging up, which I did not see. So I'm harassing here, and you can see like the harassment that I'm doing. So I have 2 knights on this side. I had a knight and 2 scouts on this side, trying to kill workers here, trying to kill workers here, which is what you usually want to do with Rus. If you have a lot of APM and multitasking, you can go for 2 different harassments at the same time. If you're maybe struggling a little bit with pushing them buttons, you can just have these 2 knights together with these units and just go around and try to pick off some workers. Now, I did not see the Farimba going up already, so I got caught off guard a little bit, and you can see I'm producing units right now. I'm getting blacksmith, you know, I'm doing my build right here. I have enough gold to get weapon upgrades as well. I'm doing some harassment over here. And his castle finishes. Now, at this point, the moment you see this, you have 2 options, okay? There's only 2 options. You either fully all in feudal, or you slowly transition to castle, okay? Now, a lot of people, what they do is they just drop everything and they go back, right? And then you give the opponent all the map control in the world. What you need to do is you need to do something in between. If you want to all in, I mean, obviously you keep making units and you all in, right? There's you know, you just keep making units, you get your upgrades, you get your rams, and you go for it. If you, and that's a fine choice to do if you think you can kill your opponent. In this game, I didn't think I can kill my opponent because his gold was in a pretty good spot where it's kind of like in the back of the base. If his gold was here, his first gold, and his second gold was here, I would have all in. Why? Because I can make rams, I can destroy his golds, I can supply block him, and attacking here would be very easy. I can pop gremlins, and I can just push him off the gold. If I push Malian off the gold, he will not be able to produce units from Farimba, and I will win the game. But I felt like in this game, his gold is kind of in the back. I didn't scout here. Maybe he walled. If I arrive, like if I push through here, the TC is going to bang me the whole time. So it's just not going to work. All right. So what I decided to do is keep making few units here and there to make him think that I am committing, I am all-inning, to force him to stay back because I don't want him to go around picking up relics, or I don't want him harassing me because I want to age up as well to catch up. So you'll see here, I will be making a little bit of extra units, and he sees my reinforcements coming, and then I will slowly age up. And you will see this small decision to just continue pushing but age up behind it leads to him staying in his base, which is what I want to happen. So look at this. I'm not killing anything, I'm not threatening anything. Just the fact that I'm around his base, he has to stay in his base. Again, the mistake that a lot of people do, they pull back immediately, like, oh no, he's gonna have castle units. That's fine, you have knights. You know, feudal knights are not as good as castle knights, but they're pretty good. And you can see here, I know I can't get much done, and slowly, in a second, I'm gonna move all these workers to gold. Because I want to age up. Now, I'm getting +1 armor first. The reason why I got +1 armor is I knew that I'm not committing to archer push, so I wanted just to have armor to be able to dive like this as much as possible, maybe dive into the wood line and buy myself time. So right now what I'm doing is I'm going to send these archers around, try to kill villagers on gold, just to distract them as much as possible. Still making a couple of units, sending more villagers onto the gold, and I'm slowly going to age up. So right now, you can see he's still stuck in his base, and this is important. From his point of view, he does not know if I'm all-inning or not, and that's what you want. He, at this point, probably thinks I'm still all-inning him, because he still sees units coming. You see, just 2 extra archers arrive. He actually defends this pretty well with javelin throwers and scouts, so I do lose these archers. But he sees more and more units coming. He pulls back because the archers are coming, and from his point of view, he's like, okay, I just gotta hold, I just gotta mine gold, and I'll be in a good spot. From my spot, or from my POV, I'm gonna age up in a second, and I'm just trying not to lose units so I can upgrade them and basically catch up to his tech. You can see, again, he's playing very defensive. He's running these workers because he doesn't want to lose them on the wood line. I'm doing some burn damage wherever I can. Again, just trying to pick off anything I can. Try to threaten in any possible way. Behind this, I'm going to age up. And not only I'm going to age up, but I'm going to take the boar. So I'm going to wall this so that my high trade house is protected. I also protect the berries. I protect this big stone, protect this wood line completely. Because from this side, this wood line is untouched and it's close to my TC. So again, you can see how I'm securing my resources. Now this is very important. Rus, the biggest strength of it is the boar. You can mow down boars and collect them so fast. Oh, I actually forgot survival techniques this game. Or maybe I got it soon. Might have forgotten it as well. I'm shit, what can I say? But with survival techniques and with bounty, faster food gathering, you get the food from boars so fast. So what I'm going to do now is, this is in a way potentially sacrificing your villagers, but you get value out of that. So against almost any opponent, getting their boar is almost never a bad idea with Rus. The reason for that is, now I'm going to pull back because I started aging up and I want to gather enough resources so I can upgrade my stuff. Now, if he counterattacks me to my base, then this boar will be gathering for free, right? So that's nice. But if he scouts that and I have a wooden fortress and a hunting cabin, killing Rus's hunting cabin requires a lot of units for you to commit. If the opponent commits to that, and eventually you lose 8 villagers, but you gather like 1,000 food, that's okay because the rest of your base is completely untouched. The opponent cannot come with like 3 units and kill this. He needs either rams, which is committing, or they need a lot of melee units, which again, you're going to trade off, kill some units and stuff like that. And if they go there, which is out of the way, like if he moved his army there, I can just take all my knights and run it into his gold. And that's why boars, because they're so far away on the map, are great, because they require the opponent to move a lot of their army in order to deal with it. And the wooden fortresses are so strong, you only need 1 for 8 villagers to hold them. So the moment I age up, or I think actually soon, I'm also going to go for this boar. So here I go back. I think I'm gonna go, yeah, I'm gonna go raid with knights because I still want to buy myself time. I need to upgrade my units. I need to do a bunch of things. Deer here are gone. I'm going on berries, and I take 8 villagers to go on this boar right here. I kill the boar on top side, and now if he wants to attack this, I'm completely fine with it, because like I said, it's gonna take quite a big committal for him to kill that. So now I aged up. And this is, again, another reason why top players are able to do these age ups even if they're behind on army or whatever else. So right now, I'm pushing his gold. He's idle on gold, which means that he's not going to be producing the next round of units. So effectively, I have delayed 5 next units from Farimba. But not only that, this is a serious amount of knights. This is 8 knights, so he cannot send 3 spearmen to deal with this. He needs to send his whole army. And that gives me the ability to get my upgrades sorted and kind of make units to be able to deal with his counterattack. Because he is still in an all-in position. Because I have been 2 TC the entire time, so I have 64 workers against 43. Even though I have less army, the longer this game goes, the better it is for me. We go for this board too. We make a gate here. We have high trade house. Not the greatest high trade house, but it's still better than the other landmark in my opinion. We get another wooden fortress here. And now I could have ran back with these units and just defended. I actually I underestimated how many units he will have at this point. Because he skipped a lot of his upgrades. If you look at his upgrades, he doesn't really have that many. He has only 3 eco upgrades and nothing else started. And because of that, he was able to have a shit ton of units. So I thought I can still harass and get the value that way, but a crap ton of units appeared in my base and I wasn't really ready. Now the thing about Malian is they can't really make rams and push you super quickly, because if you have this many units this early with Malians, you will not have rams as well. It's physically not possible, you know, because their gather rates are not that high. They do have free gold, but they don't have free wood or any bonuses on wood. So if he had rams here, he would have like no javelin throwers, right? And then the push is a lot easier to handle. So whenever you're under pressure like this, you can always call for militia. I was supply blocked here, so I was only able to call 4. And what I do here is I fill up my TC with workers, and I'm just trying to fight in between town center and Kremlin, which is the best possible place for you to fight. No matter where your Kremlin is, try to drag your opponent under both of those buildings, because Kremlin actually deals a fuck ton of damage. So here he's committing. And at this point, because I see how many units he has, I know this is a very committed attack, because I didn't lose any units, I didn't do anything wrong in this game, but he has so many units, so I know he is very much committing. And I think I clicked at one of his units at this point, and I saw that he has no upgrades. So I was like, okay, if I just hold, I'm ahead economically. I'm still trying to raid with his knights, to trying to harass, do whatever I can. And at this point, he does kill 6 workers. I actually lost 1 to the boar, effectively. But at this point, I'm seeing, okay, that's it. Like, he can't do much more, because where is he gonna go? If he keeps running through, he's gonna lose everything, right? And I can just run around with villagers, I can call more militia. So he has to go back, because he's not attacking anything specific. And if you have a proper defense like this, it's gonna be very hard for your opponent to actually engage. So he's running back, he's losing obviously a lot of units. And behind this, by the way, I am on 2 boars at the same time. Like, I am mowing down the resources super, super nicely. I have deer here too. Can't believe I forgot survival techniques this game. That's pretty bad, because that's a super important upgrade, because you also get deer for the rest of the game with high trade house, so you get value there too. So here, he kind of gets defended. I decide to go for another raid. Now, if you want to feel safer, like I did a, calculated risk, if you will, and I was like, I have enough to hold this, because I looked at my Kremlin and I saw I got 9 gremlins ready to go. So I just went for another attack. He commits once more, and right now he's not doing any damage. He's destroying a building, but I'm gonna fill up the TC with all the workers, with 15 workers or 14 workers, so that I can do a shit ton of damage, because I am about to finish +2 ranged attack, which does work on TC arrows. So, because again, I'm on 2 TC, he's on 1, he's completely all in, and he is not doing any damage right now. I'm gathering, I have 15 idle villagers, sure, but I'm ahead in villagers, so we're gathering equal amounts, and I have better upgrades, which I knew. I have gremlins I can call, and I'm still doing a massive raid. And the thing is, I'm not burning buildings, I'm killing workers on the other side. So I get a worker here, which is very nice, and soon I'm going to hit his goal on the other side. So what I'm doing now is I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting to get as much damage done with the TC before it burns down. I call up 18 gremlins, and with 5 knights, 4 crossbows, this might not seem like a big army, but I can absolutely wipe out this army completely, because gremlins are really, really strong. So here he's going for an engagement, but he's only hitting gremlins which have 125 health. They have more health than Donzos. Meanwhile, in the back, I finally get that juice that I've been looking for. And again, every time I idle his gold gathering, I idle the production. Now, if I was playing against another civ like French, or any civ that needs to go out on the map and get food like Delhi, they would need to build towers on every food source on the map. So by raiding your opponent, you make them either get static defense like towers or walls, or make them leave their units behind. And whichever way they do, you get value, right? They have less units attacking you, which is kind of the point. So here, I'm pushing him back. I repair off my TC. I got some relics too. I still keep raiding. Now, you don't need to do this much raiding with Rus. Like, I've been raiding the whole game. You don't need to do that much raiding. I could have just defended with these knights, but if you have the APM, it's always better to raid with some units. Whether that's like 8 knights like I've had whole game, now 7, or 3 knights, whatever, but if you can, you should always be raiding, kind of like French. Now, the reason I'm not out on the map, the reason I'm not like trying to do some crazy amounts of damage or counterattacking is, again, I know I'm ahead. I have been on 2 TC the entire game. I'm gathering stone to make keeps to secure more golds, and at this point he goes in for the attack again. I have a mangonel, I have more units, I have more crossbows, more military upgrades, so I am chilling. Here, I managed to distract his Donzos on one side, I hit with knights on the other. And again, at this point, the game is over. As long as I don't take some massive damage, we are good. My second TC has been up for over 10 minutes, and at this point, even if I lose it, it is not a big deal. I just run away because I'm killing his workers on the other side. He can't attack into Kremlin. I also got sprinkled upgrade on Kremlin. I mean, he can't, but he did attack, which made him lose his whole army. Or, you know, back off at least. I managed to get a keep on this side, so obviously I see his whole army here. So I went to secure the gold with a keep. Still harassing on this side. And again, I'm trying to bait him into attacking me because I want to trade units. Because I have better economy. If you look at the economy right now. Okay, a lot of my workers are traveling. But if you look at the economy right now, I have similar or same economy if you look at resource per minute. And 24 of my villagers are idle. So once they start, you know, doing stuff, I'll just skyrocket with income. And because he has less economy, if we trade out evenly, that's good for me because I'll be able to remake those units very quickly, and he will not. Here, again, he commits fully, but at this point, with how many ranged units, crossbows I have knights coming, fighting in the range of Kremlin, and I have Mango. He ends up losing pretty much everything. And as the unit count drops down, you can say like, oh, the unit count is the same, but at the high level, the players know that this game is very, very much over because this was a super, super committed castle, like early castle push with the goal of like not only doing damage, but killing your opponent. Now, again, if you wanna, you know, if the opponent did not rush castle, what I would usually do is what I mentioned earlier, which would be to just make 2 stables, 3 archer ranges, blacksmith, and just go, go, go. And I wanted to show you what happens if your opponent decides to rush castle and you get caught off guard, to know how to transition out of that. So I hope you learned something new. Make sure to get those boars. Make sure to place your Kremlin properly. Use your gremlins defensively. Gremlins have been nerfed, by the way. You cannot summon a gremlin immediately when your Kremlin is completed, the landmark. You need to wait 1 minute, and also their duration is lower, so you can no longer spawn gremlins, send them across the map, and idle the enemy economy. They can like barely arrive at the other side and then they die. So, you know, you have a very, very strong defensive cooldown right there. So, yeah. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you learned something new. I hope this motivates you to try out Rus if you haven't, or maybe you learn some new stuff about Rus, how to play it in Season 5 and get over 80 bunti. The new guides that I'll also be making is a new French guide. Again, French is similar to Rus. It's kind of played very similarly, but there's some, you know, small things that are adjusted in the French builds. I'm going to be doing French build, China guide. Again, China more or less the same, but an updated version. Malian Cow Boom, which is the new playstyle. I'm going to make an Abbasid guide with military wing, which is now way more popular and way more commonly used. And then I'm going to make the Delhi 2TC Ghazi Raider guide, which I still need to work on and develop the playstyle a little bit because I haven't done it too much. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks so much for watching. Check me out on Twitch, I'll probably live right now. If you're watching on Twitch, let's keep going.